WIC. Former Congressman Gregg Harper is on. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Paul. Can you imagine us having a better day to talk about Congress in Washington, D.C. than today? Oh, my God.
Absolutely unbelievable. I just wanted to check. I see a box over there on the left side. There are no classified documents in there, are they? Just check.
No. We shredded all of those.
When you hear some of the things that are going on, did you chair ethics in the last couple of years? Or?
No, I was actually on the ethics committee my first two terms, and then I was on the committee on House administration and was chairman of that my last term.
I got you.
So they kind of work together a little bit, but you get to do all the fun stuff that helps the train run on time.
I think a lot of people, Greg, are concerned about this, though, because as I said earlier, when you kind of fascinated by it when you first hear it, and then you start thinking, as an adult part of the brain, well, this is getting kind of high schoolish and just kind of ridiculous. When you have Republican Tim Burchett, who's going after Kevin McCarthy,
sorry, Kevin, didn't mean to elbow. Why'd you elbow me in the back, Kevin?
I know, I felt so bad.
Hey, Kevin, you got any guts?
Jeez.
Oh,
your thoughts on this?
Well, bless his heart. Tim Burchett was one of the 8 that voted to oust, McCarthy. And, if something like that happens, you ought to handle that between yourselves and not. Tim just uses it to get extra media attention, which is what he's done there. McCarthy certainly got done wrong by those 8. But Burkett's, he's probably, I would say he'll probably have a really good opponent next year, would be my opinion.
Yeah. It's got to be tough for Kevin McCarthy once you lose that position just on a day-to-day basis. It's got to be tough enough as it is. And then you go back to this guy named Mark Wayne Mullen. I knew nothing about Mark Wayne Mullen, but that was just, if you watched it, it's even worse. It's worse.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on. Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution, every Paul?
No, sit down. Oh, you're a clown. Sit down. Look at you. You're a United States Senator.
Yes. Yeah.
And Paul, what do we do? When Bernie Sanders is the referee, how far have we fallen? But look, Mark Wayne Mullen served with him in the House before he went to the Senate from Oklahoma. Do you know what Mark Wayne Mullen did before he got into politics?
I think he was a plumber.
No. Well, he may have some company. I don't know.
Yeah,
but he was a mixed martial. He was a mixed martial arts fighter.
So
it wasn't a problem for him. It was.
Yeah.
So
he did. For people who don't know. I'm sorry. For people who don't know this, and I didn't mention it earlier, but the audience turns over. At the end of it, he was trying to challenge the Teamster Sean O'Brien to a cage match in April for charity, and Sean O'Brien, as a Teamster, was smart enough to say no. He didn't say it. At the end of it, he kept hee-hawing and kind of got out of it and says, "I'll meet you in a talking match. We'll sit there and talk things over." So,
Paul, here's the thing. You know what we really needed, and it was not Bernie Sanders, but could you imagine yesterday in the Senate that hearing if we could have brought back Howard Cosell? Somebody that would have given the moment depth, in that situation. But it's, everything that happens is now done instantly on media, social media. And you just have to think, okay, is what I'm about to do, how is that going to look in a headline? And if it doesn't look good, maybe you shouldn't do it.
I'm looking at it back home in the rank and file, the voters out there, where, ground beef now, if you want to go buy a pound of ground beef, it costs you $6 to $7. Your gas is low right now, but it's got to go back up. I say low. It's not low. It's lower now, but it's just in one of those little dips before the holidays, and we'll see what happens to that. Everything across the board. I think, Lance, you sent me this yesterday. We were talking about if you wanted to clear for a mortgage to buy a house just 3 years ago, if you had a little under $50,000 household income, the bank would clear you to buy a home. Now that same home's going to cost you better have $107,000 household income, or you're not going to qualify to have your own home. Things have gone crazy out there. At the same time, you have the president and the vice president saying things are dandy. Things look good out there. And they're not. And with 2 wars, an open border, everything else going on, it's just time for the Republicans to show some civility and some adult mannerisms in what they're going on. I just don't think it's a helpful thing for the country, and certainly not the GOP.
No, I agree, and that is amazing when, with a straight face, Biden and Harris can say how good things are and how rosy the economy is. The only thing they would say would be better than the economy would be the secure border that we have. So it's just,
well, and they said that.
You spout out these lies, and it's like, how can you get away with that? But look where we were before Biden came into office and where we are now, and it's a disaster. And, at this point in time, you're right, we better focus our attention on where the real problems are. And, we've got Israel, we've got Ukraine. Don't forget about communist China and everything that they're trying to do, really to, I think, destroy us. And so we better wake up and realize our enemies are they're outside the country, and we better stay focused on them. And we're not able to do that if we're playing games.
It's not something that the former congressman made up when he's talking about this. It's coming from the mouth of the president himself.
Wages are actually going up. Wages are going up. It's a fancy way of saying is median household wealth has grown by 37% since the pandemic, meaning people are better off, 37% better off.
I have no idea what orifice he pulls this out of. I have no earthly idea. Where does he come up with this?
Well, 67% of all statistics are made up on the spot.
I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's a little more than that.
It's pretty bad.
There are 2 other stories I want to get your input on. Number one, and let me give you an analogy on this one. If you ask your teenage son, please clean up your room, it's a mess. We got relatives coming. You got kids going to be there. Please, and you beg him to do this. Then all of a sudden, out of exasperation, after months and months, if not years, you say, "All right, look, I'll give you $100," and all of a sudden, the next day it's cleaned up. You see that he can do it. I'm using that analogy for San Francisco. The Communist Party is parading through the streets. And they've cleaned up everything there. They've cleaned up the fecal matter. They've cleaned up the tents. It looks like San Francisco of old. The streets of San Francisco can be cleaned. And he hasn't done it to this time. He's used all these other excuses about that, but he hasn't cleaned it up. So I think most of the people are left with this. If you wanted to clean that up and get rid of those homeless people, put them somewhere else, you could have done it. But you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, look, and so how do you improve somebody's want to? It can be done, but you failed to do it, and that's sort of on him for not doing it. But it's something can be done, and we've got we've got real problems across the country, and we look in disarray right now. But every major city's got some problems now, and look, you drive into the capital city, and it's like, man, does nobody in the city have a weed eater? I mean, it's just just visuals.
That's crazy. It is crazy. It's another Democrat place falling apart. I want to ask you about this AI thing and the Communist Party. By the way, when the convoy came through, I saw this picture. I retweeted it out, by the way. And the limousines carrying all the officials were going where the powwow was. There were all kinds of communist banners and flags. There was not one single sign of Old Glory anywhere there. As far as Gavin Newsom is concerned about the cleanup, he said this.
I know folks say, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true.
Unbelievable.
I know folks say, they're just cleaning up.
And that's enough. Back with more. Let me jump ahead Mike Johnson, your insight and analysis on the new speaker.
Look, Mike Johnson is a really special guy, somebody that's got great character. You know, he loves the Lord genuinely, and somebody that people respect, and as best we can tell, up to at least now, has no enemies. Now, that obviously can change over time when you're the speaker, but Paul, here's one thing to keep in mind. Mike Johnson is speaker because you have to make the trains run on time. Did basically the exact same thing that Kevin McCarthy did to keep the government from shutting down. And nobody's doing anything, against him. So when McCarthy says that Gates' attack on him was personal, this pretty well proves that, because you can't say we're going to get rid of McCarthy because he dealt with the Democrats, and Johnson had to do the same thing to get to the 2/3 vote margin.
But Greg, was it a little bit deeper than that? Was it in the back rooms, the loyalty maybe to Donald Trump? Because Mike Johnson was on, I forgot who it was on. He said this, I think it was yesterday, the day before.
When you were named speaker, a lot of people said, Trump ally. As far as I know, you have not endorsed the former president yet. For 2024, Mr. Speaker.
I have done it. I have endorsed him wholeheartedly. Look, I was one of the closest allies that President Trump had in Congress. He had a phenomenal first term. Those first 2 years, as you all know, we brought about the greatest economic numbers in the history of the world, not just the country, because his policies worked. And I'm all in for President Trump. I expect he'll be our nominee. He's going to win it, and we have to make Biden a one-term president.
I got to tell you, this is the things that ingratiates Mike Johnson with not only the base, but a lot of people, unequivocally. Here's where I stand. I'm not wishy-washy. And I think that was either a truism or perceived in Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah, it may have been perceived, but I found him to be nothing but supportive of President Trump when he was in office, and certainly worked well with him, even when he was majority leader, and was able to communicate with him to kind of help him on how Congress runs. And so I just think that, Matt Gaetz, what they've done is, yes, we've got a speaker who is a very good speaker, but we had a good speaker before. All we did was let the Democrats enjoy our infighting. And I don't think that helped us very much.
I was hoping that the infighting would slow down, but after yesterday's shenanigans, it doesn't look like it. Here's a question that's just totally off the wall, but I got to ask you about this, and it's 2 years from actually the buzz beginning, but 2 years into the final term of a limited governor, people are looking around, especially when you get to that second to last legislative session. Who's going to step up? Man, you take a look at it. We have a stable of good possible candidates to be the next governor of the state of Mississippi after the 4-year term of Tate Reeves.
Yeah, look, we've got the Republicans have a deep bench, and I think that it's inevitable that the Republican primary in 2027 will decide who the next governor is. The Democrats have given their best shot twice, and basically hit 47.5%, and that seems to be their high water mark, no matter who runs. So we're blessed with a really good team on the Republican side, and we've had some great governors, and I'm thankful for the work they've done for Mississippi, and it's going to be fun to watch.
It is. We're talking about state leaders, former leaders, et cetera, and who knows as far as what happens in the House and Senate before that gets here. So it's a long 4 years, but it's going to be certainly interesting. And you're right. When you look at the bench for the Democrats, there's nobody on the bench other than at the end of the bench is Brandon Presley, who says he may run again, but there's a long time for him between now and then.
No kidding. And the Democratic Party and the out-of-state money that came in, they're not going to be as interested in 4 years because they're going to view it as he didn't get it when we did this. I don't see he'll get that level of money, financial support.
No, I don't either. As a matter of fact, I think they lost interest about 15 minutes after his concession speech. I don't think it's going to take longer than that one. Is there a possibility your name would be on that list in 4 years as far as governor of the state?
I'm sorry, Paul. You're really breaking up. I'm having trouble hearing you.
No. We tested this mic. This mic is one of the best.
Look, if there's ever any decision, you'll be the second to know. How about that?
I appreciate that. My wife, your wife, and me both appreciate that in that order.
There you go.
Gregg Harper, former congressman, Mississippi 3rd District. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it very much.
Hey, great to be with you, Paul. Have a great day.